The US Avenger led the fleet toward the Zenthari homeworld. Behind it followed dozens of ships. Human, alien, old, new. They had come a long way from hiding in the dark. Now, they were here to end it. On the bridge, Ethan Blake stood at the center, silent as the stars passed by outside. Tina Morales checked systems, engines, weapons. "We won't make it out clean," she said. Ethan didn't look away from the screen. "We don't have to." Dale Briggs leaned against the wall, arms crossed. He looked tired, worn down, but ready. "You sure this is the only way?" he asked. Ethan finally turned. "No, but it's the right one." Jason Lee sat at comms, sending last messages to the fleet. "Everyone's in position," he said. "Waiting on us." "Then let's not keep them waiting," said Ethan. He gave the order. "All ships, jump to attack vector. Full speed ahead." The Avenger vanished into warp. Seconds later, they dropped into battle. Zenthari warships filled the sky, massive, cold, unfeeling. Lasers lit up space, missiles flew, ships exploded like dying stars. The Avenger took heavy fire. Shields cracked, engines groaned, alarms screamed. But still, it flew. Still, it fought. Dale led a boarding team onto a Zenthari command ship. Lena Hart followed, patching wounds as fast as they came. People died, humans, aliens, friends, but they kept moving, because stopping meant losing, and that was not an option. Back on the bridge, Tina worked hard to keep the Avenger alive. "We're losing power," someone shouted. "Reroute everything to engines," she yelled back. Ethan watched the main display. The Zenthari core world burned below. Their leaders were inside, watching, waiting. They thought they could survive this. They were wrong. Ethan walked to the helm. "Take us straight down," he said. "What?" the pilot asked. "Straight down. Into their shield generator." The pilot swallowed hard. "Captain, do it." Tina ran over. "Ethan, you don't have to do this." He looked at her, really looked at her. "Yes, I do." She shook her head. "There has to be another way." Ethan smiled softly. "Thank you. For everything." Then he turned to Jason. "Send one last message," he said. Jason hesitated, then nodded. Ethan spoke clearly, calmly. "This is humanity. We don't forgive, we don't forget, and we are here to stay." The message sent across all channels to every human, every ally, every enemy. Then, the Avenger dove, past burning ships, past enemy fire, straight into the heart of the Zenthari command. It hit hard. The explosion lit up the entire system. Shockwaves rolled through space. The shield generator collapsed. Zenthari defenses failed, without leadership, without power, without hope. The Zenthari surrendered. Within hours, the war was over. Across the galaxy, humans cheered, cried, hugged each other. They had won. Not just survival, but justice. Weeks later, peace talks began. Admiral Karen Hayes led the human delegation. She stood tall, proud, representing a species that had been broken and had rebuilt itself with fire. Meanwhile, Lena and Dale led a final mission. Deep beneath the ruins of Earth's last colony, they found something unexpected. Children, dozens of them, kept in stasis, alive, waiting. Lena cried. When she saw them, Dale just held her shoulder. "We made it," she whispered. "Yeah," he said. "We did." Months passed, new colonies rose, ships were built, families formed, and the name US Avenger became legend, a symbol, a warning, a promise, that humanity would never fall again. In the stars, its name echoed forever. And somewhere far beyond war, its captain was remembered. Not just as a soldier, but as a man who reminded the galaxy what it meant to face the wrath of humankind and never forget. The battle at Sector 9 was over, but the war had only just begun. The US Avenger floated in deep space, its hull scarred from heavy fire. Smoke still lingered in some halls, Lights flickered like tired eyes. Outside, the remains of the Zenthari supply hub burned in silence. Ships lay broken. Fuel lines exploded. Supply stations were nothing more than floating wreckage. It had been a hard fight, a costly one, but humanity had won. For the first time in decades, they had taken something from the Zenthari and made them pay for it on the bridge. Ethan Blake stood with his hands behind his back watching the stars. Tina Morales leaned against a console nearby. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp. "We did it," she said. "Barely," said Ethan. "And we lost good people." Tina nodded. They knew what they were signing up for. Ethan didn't answer right away. He looked at the reports coming in from the fleet. Ships damaged, supplies low, morale high. Word had spread fast across the galaxy. Humans were back, and they were fighting. On board the Avenger, things were changing. New faces filled the halls. Former prisoners now wore uniforms. Some had weapons. Others worked in engineering or med bays. Lena Hart walked through the ship, checking on the wounded. She had grown used to the sound of gunfire, to the smell of burnt metal. Dale Briggs trained new recruits in the cargo bay. They weren't soldiers yet, but they were learning. Jason Lee sat at comms, scanning for messages. He picked up something strange. "Captain," he called. "You need to hear this." Ethan walked over. Jason played the message. "To all human forces, if you are real, we are with you." It came from a distant system, far beyond Zenthari control. A voice. Calm. Clear. Not afraid. "Can you trace it?" asked Ethan. Jason nodded. "Yes, but it gets better." He tapped a few keys, pulled up more data. "This signal, it's not just one. There are dozens, maybe hundreds. Other groups, hiding, waiting." Tina raised an eyebrow. "You think they're ready to fight?" "Maybe not all," said Jason. "But some are." Ethan looked at the screen, then at the crew. "Then we give them something to believe in." Admiral Karen Hayes entered the bridge. She had seen the report. "You're thinking bigger than just raids," she said. Ethan met her eyes. "I'm thinking full war." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Then we need allies, not just humans." Tina frowned. "You mean other species?" "Some don't like the Zenthari either," said Ethan. "If we show them we can win, they might join us." Tina sighed. "That's a big if." "It's the only way," said Ethan. Over the next few weeks, the Avenger traveled across the outer systems, making contact, offering peace, showing strength. Some aliens turned them away, others listened, a few even helped. Slowly, the fleet grew, not just with humans, but with ships from other races who had suffered under the Zenthari. Minerals, fuel, weapons, allies, power. The Avenger became more than a warship. It became a symbol of hope, of revenge, of change. In engineering, Tina and her team worked non-stop. With new parts and alien tech, they rebuilt the Avenger into something stronger. Its armor was thicker, its weapons upgraded, its engines faster. It was no longer just a relic of the past, it was a weapon of the future. One night, Lena found Ethan alone on the observation deck. She stood beside him, looking out at the stars. "You ever think about what comes after?" She asked. Ethan didn't look at her. "I think about what has to happen before." She nodded. "You know not everyone will make it." "I know," he said quietly. "But if we don't do this, nobody will." She watched the stars for a while. Then she said, "I want to go planet-side, see what's left of Earth." Ethan looked at her. "You sure?" "Yeah," she said. "Someone should remember what we're fighting for." Ethan thought about it. Then, he said, "We'll go together." Outside, the stars burned cold. But inside the Avenger, something warm was growing, something that could not be stopped. Hope, rage, and the unbreakable will of the human race, ready to rise, ready to fight, ready to reclaim everything. The US Avenger was no longer alone. Since the prison rescue, more survivors had reached out. Hidden colonies, broken ships, lone fighters hiding in the dark. They all heard the same message. Humanity is back, and they were answering the call. On board the Avenger, things had changed. The halls were full. People slept wherever they could. Food was even tighter than before, but morale was high. Hope burned brighter than ever. In the mess hall, Lena Hart patched up a young boy who had been hurt during the escape. His name was Sam. He looked up at her with tired eyes. "Are we safe now?" he asked. Lena smiled. "Not yet, but we're getting there." Nearby, Dale Briggs sat with a group of new recruits. Most were young. Some had never held a gun before. He handed one a rifle. "You learn fast or you don't live long. That clear?" They nodded. Across the ship, Tina Morales worked non-stop in engineering. She had help now. Engineers from other human ships who had joined their fleet. It wasn't much of a fleet yet. Old freighters, damaged shuttles, a few stolen Zenthari crafts. But it was growing. On the bridge, Ethan Blake watched as more signals came in. Jason Lee read them aloud. "This is Freedom's Edge. We're ready to fight. This is Echo 3. We have weapons. Waiting for orders." Ethan didn't smile, didn't celebrate. He only said one thing. "We need a plan." Tina walked in, wiping sweat from her face. "You thinking what I think you are?" "Maybe," said Ethan. "What do you think?" She crossed her arms. "I think we're still outgunned, outmanned, and barely holding this ship together. But, we've come too far to—" "Stop now." Ethan turned to Jason. "Can you reach the outer systems?" "If I boost the signal through the relay on Deck 4, said Jason. "But it's risky. If the Zenthari catch it, they'll know where we are." "Do it anyway." Jason nodded and got to work. Meanwhile, Ethan called a meeting in the war room. Leaders from the new ships, former officers, surviving command staff. One of them stood up. An older woman. Sharp eyes, strong voice. Her name was Admiral Karen Hayes. Once, she had commanded Earth's last defense fleet. Now, she was one of the last living admirals of the human navy. "You want to start a war?" she said. "We already are in one," said Ethan. She studied him. "Then we need more than ambushes, more than raids. We need strategy." "That's why I called this meeting," said Ethan. "We either keep running, or we strike first." Silence filled the room. Then Admiral Hayes spoke again. "Tell me your plan." Ethan stepped forward, tapped the display. "Here," he said, pointing, "is the Zenthari supply hub in Sector 9. It's the heart of their trade routes. If we take it out, they lose fuel, weapons, support." Dale leaned forward. "Sounds like a suicide mission." "Maybe," said Ethan. "But if we hit hard enough, fast enough, we cripple their fleet." Tina frowned. "You really think we can pull that off?" "No," said Ethan, "but we have to try." Admiral Hayes looked around the room. "Any objections?" Nobody spoke. "Then it's decided." Back on the Avenger, the crew prepared for battle. Repairs ran non-stop. Weapons were tested, pilots trained. People who had spent years hiding were now training to fight. Laura Bennett packed medical kits. Lena helped set up triage stations in case of heavy losses. Dale drilled his team until they moved like a single unit. Even the rescued prisoners volunteered. Some cooked, some built tools, some learned how to shoot. Everyone had a role. 2 days later, the fleet was ready. Not big, not perfect, but real. The Avenger led the charge. Behind it followed 20 ships, some fast, some slow, all human. As they jumped into warp heading toward the Zenthari supply hub, Ethan stood on the bridge. He looked at the stars ahead. "This is it," he said quietly. "No more running." Tina stood beside him. "You sure about this?" He didn't answer right away, then he said, "No, but I'm damn sure about who we are." Outside, the fleet vanished into the dark. The galaxy was about to remember what happened when humans fought back, and this time, they weren't going to lose. Not again. Not ever. The US Avenger floated near a dark planet. Its engines were quiet. Lights dimmed. It was hiding. Below them, surrounded by thick clouds and heavy storms, was a Xanthari prison world. It wasn't just any prison. It was where they kept humans, who had survived the fall of Earth. Thousands of them. Starving, beaten, broken, but still alive. Ethan Blake stood on the bridge, staring at the screen. The data from Jason's intercepted message had led them here. This was real. "We can't just fly in," said Tina Morales. She was checking the ship's systems. "We're already running on half power. Then we make this quick," said Ethan. Dale Briggs leaned against the wall, arms crossed, face serious. "You really think we can pull off a rescue?" he asked. "Down there they've got towers, weapons, guards everywhere. We don't have to fight fair," said Ethan. "We just have to be fast." Jason Lee tapped at his console. "There's something else. I picked up weak comms from inside the prison. Someone is listening." "Who?" "Doesn't say. But they sent a code. Old Earth military." Tina looked up. "Could be a trap." "Could be," said Ethan. "Or it could be our only chance." They made the plan fast. Hit hard, hit fast. Get in and out before the Xanthari knew what hit them. Laura, Bennett packed medical kits. Lena Hart trained the new medics. Dale gathered a small ground team. The Avenger moved under silent drive. Low orbit. Cloaked as best it could. From the bridge, Ethan gave the order. "Launch the shuttles." 2 stolen Xanthari dropships broke away from the Avenger. Painted black, stripped down, loaded with people who knew what they were risking. Inside one shuttle, Dale sat across from Lena. She was nervous, but ready. "You ever done anything like this before?" he asked. "Nope," she said. "You?" "Too many times," he muttered. Outside the window, the prison world grew larger. Storms rolled across the surface. Lightning cracked through the sky. The shuttles dropped fast. Alarms sounded. Below, searchlights swept the sky. Xanthari guards scrambled. Then the Avenger struck. Railgun rounds tore into the outer walls. Missiles lit up the darkness. Chaos spread. The shuttles landed hard. Doors opened. Boots hit the ground. Gunfire rang out. "David." Parker stayed in the cockpit. "I'll keep this thing warm for you." Dale nodded. "Don't leave without us." He led the charge inside. Guards fell. Alarms screamed. Smoke filled the halls. Lena followed close behind, patching wounds, dragging the injured out. In the control room, Jason hacked into the prison's network. "Got it," he said. Unlocking all cells. Farther in, prisoners began to move. Some stumbled. Some cried. Most didn't believe it. They were being saved. Back, aboard the Avenger, Tina worked nonstop, rerouting power, keeping engines online. "How long can we hold position?" Ethan asked. 10 minutes, she said. "If we're lucky. We need more than that." "Then tell them to run faster. The ground, the evac was slow. Too many wounded, not enough hands. Dale shouted over comms. "We need more time." Ethan looked at the radar. Xanthari reinforcements were coming, fast. "Tina," he said. "Can we draw their fire?" She thought for a second, then grinned. "Yeah, I can do that." She rerouted everything. Engines, shields, weapons. The Avenger shot upward, exposed itself. Xanthari ships locked on. Missiles flew. The warship took hits. Lights flickered. Metal groaned. But it held. "Come on," Ethan whispered. "Just a little longer." On the ground, the last of the prisoners were loaded onto the shuttles. Lena helped an old man climb inside. His eyes were red. Tired. "Thank you," he whispered. She didn't answer. Just helped him sit. The shuttles lifted off. They climbed fast. Dodging enemy fire. Back aboard the Avenger, Tina yelled, "Get me those engines!" Her team fought too. "Keep the ship flying." One by one, the systems came back online. "We're clear," David shouted. Ethan didn't wait. "Jump now." The Avenger vanished into warp. Behind them, the prison world burned. In front of them, space stretched wide and open, and inside the ship, thousands of freed humans looked around in shock. They were free, for the first time in years. Some cried, others stared, most just breathed. Lena walked through the halls, saw faces she'd never seen before. Children, mothers, soldiers. They were alive. And so was hope. On the bridge, Ethan looked at the stars. Tina stood beside him. "We did it," she said. "Barely," said Ethan. She smiled. "Still counts." Outside, the galaxy watched. The ghost ship had returned not just to strike, but to bring humanity back. One soul at a time. The US Avenger moved through space like a wolf on the hunt. Since finding the survivors on the mining station, things had changed. They had more people now. More hands to work. More minds to fight. But they also had more mouths to feed. More bodies to keep alive. And they were still outgunned, still outnumbered, but not afraid. On the bridge, Ethan Blake stood near the main display. It showed enemy territory. Zenthari systems, patrol routes. Tina Morales leaned over the controls. "We don't have enough fuel to keep running forever. Then we make every move count," said Ethan. Dale Briggs crossed his arms. "You got something in mind?" Ethan nodded. "A message." Jason Lee looked up from comms. "What kind of message?" Ethan pointed at the screen. "We hit them hard, fast, then we leave our name behind." "Our name?" asked Jason. "They think we're ghosts," said Ethan. "Let's make sure they know we're real." The plan was simple. Strike a weak point, vanish before help arrives, and leave proof that humans were back. Their first target, a small Zenthari relay station orbiting a frozen moon. It wasn't a military base, but it was important, a link in the enemy's network. "If we take it out," said Tina, "it'll scramble their comms for weeks." "Good," said Ethan. "That's the point." The Avenger moved in under silent drive. Engines low, lights dimmed, hiding in the dark. When they were close enough, Jason sent out a signal. "This is humanity." He read from a note Ethan had written. "We remember what you did, and we are coming." Then they fired. Railgun rounds tore into the station's core. Missiles punched through armor. Within minutes, the place was burning. As the Avenger pulled away, the crew watched the relay station break apart in silence. "Message sent," said Dale. Back aboard, the mood was different. Lighter, for the first time since waking up, they had struck back, and they hadn't died doing it. Word spread fast across the Zenthari networks. A human warship had attacked again, left no survivors, and signed its name. Across the galaxy, fear grew. Was this the start of something bigger? On the Avenger, the crew kept working, fixing, training, preparing. Laura Bennett stretched food supplies as far as she could. Lena Hart trained new medics. Dale drilled the security team. Everyone had a job, even the survivors. One night, Jason picked up something strange on comms. A voice. Soft. Broken. "Anyone, please. If you hear this, Earth didn't fall alone." He played it again. "Earth didn't fall alone?" asked Tina. Jason frowned. "There's more." He tapped the console. More came through. "Other colonies. Still fighting. Hidden worlds. If you can hear us, join us." Ethan listened carefully. "Can you trace it?" he asked. Jason nodded slowly. "Maybe, it's weak, bouncing between dead relays, but I think it's coming from Sector 12. Sector 12 was deep in enemy space." Tina looked worried. "You thinking what I think you're thinking?" Ethan didn't smile. "We go in, see who's left." Dale raised an eyebrow. "You sure that's smart?" "No," said Ethan, "but it's necessary." The Avenger turned again, deeper into danger. Behind them, the Zenthari were getting angry. In front of them, something waited, something that might change everything. Meanwhile, across the stars, whispers grew louder. The ghost ship had returned, and it was no longer hiding. On board, life continued. People worked, slept, ate, talked, some even laughed. Lena helped a young boy named Tom fix a broken toy. He had been born during the war. Never seen Earth. Did it used to be beautiful? He asked. She smiled. Yeah, it was. He looked up at her. Will we ever go back? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked toward the bridge. At Ethan, at the others. Maybe not Earth, she said quietly. But we'll find something worth going back to. Outside, the stars burned cold, but inside the Avenger, something warm was growing. Hope. And with every strike, every message, every act of defiance, the wrath of humanity burned brighter, ready to return, and ready to finish what had begun. The Rus Avenger moved through deep space. Its engines groaned. Wires hissed. Lights blinked like tired eyes. They were heading to a place that wasn't on any map anymore. An old mining station orbiting a dead planet. Once, it had belonged to Earth. Now it was forgotten, or so they thought. We're close, said David Parker, the pilot. He looked at the screen. But I don't see anything. Tina Morales checked the sensors. No power readings, no movement. Looks abandoned. Ethan, Blake leaned forward. Looks can be wrong. He turned to Jason Lee. Anything on comms? Jason shook his head. Nothing but static. Then we go in quiet, said Ethan. Helm, bring us in slow. The warship drifted closer. The mining station grew larger. On the screen, it was big, ugly, built into the side of a rocky moon. Most of its lights were out. It looked dead. But as they got closer, something changed. A faint signal appeared on radar. Weak, barely there. Wait, said Tina. There's something inside. Life signs? Asked Ethan. Not sure, she said. But something is still running in there. They docked with the station. The connection was rough. Metal screeched. Air seals groaned. But they held. A small team suited up. Ethan led them. Jason, Tina, and Dale Briggs, the ex-Marine. The door opened with a hiss. Inside it was dark. Cold. Dust floated in the air like ghosts. They stepped in slowly. Guns ready. Helmets lit up their path. Voices came through the comms. This place gives me the creeps, said Jason. Quiet, said Ethan. Listen. They heard it. A soft hum. Somewhere deep inside the station, they followed the sound. Lights flickered ahead. Then voices. Low. Scared. Who's there? Someone, called. Ethan raised a hand. The team stopped. Humans, he answered. Silence. Then footsteps. Slow. Careful. From the shadows, a group of people appeared. Dirty. Tired. Afraid. One of them stepped forward. A woman. Young, with sharp eyes and a bruised face. You're real, she whispered. So were they. They led the survivors back to the Avenger, 12 of them. Some hurt, all hungry. In the mess hall they ate quietly, watched everything like it might disappear. Laura Bennett gave them warm food, protein bars, whatever she could spare. Thank you, said the woman. Her name was Lena Hart. She had been a medic before the Zenthari took over. How long have you been there? Asked Ethan. Over 5 years, she said. We hid when the Zenthari came. Everyone else died. Ethan nodded. Dale looked at the others. You've been hiding this whole time? Some nodded. One man, older, spoke up. We found logs, he said. Data from before the fall, about what happened to Earth. Everyone went quiet. Ethan looked at him. What did you find? The man handed over a broken data pad. Tina plugged it in. The screen flickered. Images filled the screen. Videos, reports, maps, Earth burning, Zenthari ships raining fire on human cities, final messages from Earth Command. They didn't just conquer us, said Lena. They wiped us out. Ethan stared at the screen. His jaw tightened. They made sure nobody would fight back. Dale crossed his arms. Guess they missed us. Tina finished copying the data. This changes everything. How? Asked Jason. She looked at him. Now we know what they did and we can prove it. Ethan stood up, looked at the survivors. You don't have to hide anymore, he said. We're fighting back, and we need every one of you. Lena met his eyes. What are we going to do? He smiled coldly. Make them regret what they did. Back on the bridge, Ethan looked at the new data. Maps. Enemy positions. Supply lines. This is good intel, said Jason. Good enough to hit them where it hurts, said Ethan. Tina frowned. We barely keep this ship flying. You really think we can start a war? Ethan didn't blink. We already are. Outside, stars burned cold. But inside the Avenger, something was growing. Hope and rage. The ghost ship had found more than survivors. It had found purpose. And soon, the galaxy would feel it. The thus Avenger moved through space like a ghost. Its engines groaned under the strain. Lights flickered, wires sparked. But it flew. They were heading toward Delta 7. If the signal was real, there might still be humans alive out there. But they weren't the only ones listening. Near a dead planet, 3 Xanthari scout ships drifted silently. Their sleek bodies blended with the dark. They had picked up the Avenger's jump signature. Unknown vessel, one Xanthari commander said over comms. It is old, damaged, probably not a threat. They were wrong. On the Avenger's bridge, Ethan Blake stared at the enemy ships on the screen. We can't run, said Jason Lee. Not yet. Then we fight, said Ethan. Tina Morales was already working. She rerouted power to weapons, patched broken circuits, made sure the guns could fire at least once. You sure this won't blow us apart? She asked. Ethan looked at her. Nope. She sighed. Of course not. In the engine room, Tina's team worked fast. Sweat dripped down their faces. Sparks flew as they tightened connections. Weapons are hot, said Jason. Barely. Good enough, said Ethan. He turned to the helm. David, take us in slow, quiet. David Parker was the pilot. Young. Good hands. He nodded. The Avenger moved like a shadow. Silent thrusters kept it hidden behind a field of space dust. The Xanthari ships scanned the area. Found nothing. Nothing. Here, one said. Just empty space. They powered down weapons, relaxed. That was their mistake. Now, said Ethan. The Avenger fired. 2 missiles shot from its launchers. Old, rusted, but still deadly. They hit the first scout ship before it could react. Metal tore open. Air rushed out. Crew died screaming. The second ship tried to raise shields. Too late. A railgun round punched through its hull, sent it spinning into darkness. The third ship tried to flee. Ethan smiled coldly. Don't let them. Run. Jason tapped controls. Sent a short message. This is the US Avenger. Humanity remembers. Then the third ship exploded. Back on the bridge, silence filled the room. Then someone whispered, We did it. Tina leaned back. I don't believe it. Ethan didn't smile, didn't celebrate. He just looked at the stars. We just made enemies, he said, and they're going to want revenge. Word spread quickly across the Xanthari networks. A human warship had returned. It had attacked without warning. It had left no survivors. Across the galaxy, whispers grew louder. A ghost ship. A human reaper. A lost war coming back to life. On the Avenger, the crew worked hard to keep the ship flying. Repairs were constant. Food was low. Sleep was rare. Laura, Bennett the cook, stretched every meal as far as she could. Protein bars, old rations, whatever she could find. We need supplies, she told Ethan. We'll get them, he said. How? He looked out the window. At the stars. We take them. Meanwhile, Jason kept scanning the comms, looking for anything else. One night, he heard something strange. A voice. Low. Careful. To any surviving humans. If you hear this, do not trust the new colony worlds. They are traps. The Xanthari use them to catch rebels. Stay away. Jason played it again. Then he saw something else. A pattern. The Xanthari were moving more ships near Delta 7. They know we're coming, he said. Ethan frowned. Then Delta 7 might not be safe. What do we do? Ethan thought for a long time. We change plans, he said. We find somewhere else. Someplace off the maps. Someplace forgotten. Tina raised an eyebrow. You got something in mind? Ethan nodded. There's an old mining station. Used to belong to Earth. It's not on any Xanthari charts. You think it's still there? Only one way to find out. The Avenger turned again. Away from Delta 7. Deeper into unknown space. Behind them, the Xanthari began hunting. Ahead of them, something waited. Something that might change everything. Space was quiet, dark, cold. But deep inside that silence, something old began to wake up. A ship floated in the black. It was big, scarred, and forgotten. Its name was the Avenger. Once it had been one of Earth's strongest warships. Now it drifted like a ghost far from home with no stars watching over it. Inside the ship, machines sputtered back to life. Lights flickered, wires sparked. Alarms blinked weakly. Systems long asleep tried to remember how to work again. In a cold metal room near the center of the ship, a man opened his eyes. His name was Ethan Blake. He was tall, with short hair going gray at the edges. His face was hard, shaped by years of command and loss. He sat up slowly, shaking off the cold grip of cryosleep. Around him, others were waking too. Some groaned, some coughed, a few just stared, trying to understand where they were. One of them stood first. Her name was Tina Morales. She was the chief engineer. Smart, stubborn, and used to fixing things that should have stayed broken. Systems are coming online, she said, rubbing her arms to warm them. Barely. Ethan nodded. He got up and walked to the control panel. The screen flickered, then showed the ship's status. It wasn't good. Life support was low. Fuel reserves were almost gone. Weapons were offline. Comms were silent. How long have we been out? Asked Jason Lee, the communications officer. He was young, always curious, always asking questions. Tina looked at the date on the display. She frowned. Longer than we planned. How long? She looked at him. 32 years. There was silence. Some people didn't believe it at first. 32 years? That couldn't be right. But the numbers didn't lie. They had gone into cryosleep during a battle. The Avenger had been badly damaged. The crew had shut everything down, hoping to survive until help came, but no help ever came. Now, they were alone. 32 years later, Ethan walked through the halls of the ship. His boots echoed on the steel floor. The walls were scratched, wires stuck out like veins torn open. He passed empty cryopods. Most were cracked or frozen shut. Some had dead bodies inside. He stopped at one. A woman lay still inside. Her name was Rachel. His wife. Or what was left of her. He closed his eyes. Not now. Later. On the bridge, the crew gathered around the main display. It took time, but Tina managed to pull up a star map. Then, she found something worse. Earth, she whispered. Jason leaned in. What about it? She pointed at the screen. It's not on the network anymore. What does that mean? Someone else asked. Tina swallowed. It means nobody has heard from Earth in over 10 years. Ethan looked at the data. Reports from other human ships, messages from colonies, all cut off, one by one. Looks like the Xanthari won, said Jason, his voice low. The Xanthari were an alien alliance. Powerful. Ruthless. They had fought humanity for decades. If they had taken Earth, we need to know for sure, said Ethan. Tina shook her head. This ship can barely move. We're lucky to be alive. We'll make it move, said Ethan. Tina looked at him. You really think we can fight them? Ethan didn't answer right away. He looked at the faces around him. Tired, scared, but still human. We don't have to win, he said finally. We just have to remind them who we are. They worked for days, maybe longer. Time was hard to track without full systems. Tina and her team patched power lines, fixed failing engines, rerouted coolant, kept the ship from falling apart. Jason tried to reach anyone on comms. Nothing came back. Only static, only silence. But then, one night, he heard something. Captain, he called. Ethan came running. I picked up a signal, said Jason. Weak, broken, but it's there. He played it. The voice was faint, garbled, but clear enough. Anyone, please. This is Survivor Camp. Delta 7. We are still here. Delta 7 was a colony world. Last known location, Sector 9. Can you trace it? Ethan asked. Jason nodded. Roughly. It's far, but it's real. Set a course, said Ethan. Tina looked worried. That kind of jump could tear us apart. Then we fix it as we go, said Ethan. He turned to the crew. We've been asleep for too long, he said. It's time to wake up the galaxy. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. But the Avenger was moving again, and somewhere out there humanity was still waiting.